The Phantom Vessel. The massive warship materialized without warning in the disputed Helios sector. One moment, empty space stretched between the binary stars. The next, a sleek metal giant hung against the cosmic backdrop. Its obsidian hull absorbed starlight rather than reflected it, making the vessel look like a void cut into space itself. Only occasional gleams along its sharp edges revealed its solid nature. 3 major galactic powers immediately detected the anomaly. The ship appeared directly in the center of Helios, a region claimed by humans, the insectoid Vesperi, and the energy-based luminary alike. Border sensors picked up energy readings that defied analysis, suggesting technology far beyond current capabilities. At Coalition Outpost Theta, alarms blared through the corridors. Captain Ilara Vega rushed to the command center, her uniform jacket half-buttoned. She had been resting after a long diplomatic session with Vesperi representatives when the call came. "Report," she ordered, taking her position at the central console. The view screen showed a distant object, magnification struggling to provide detail through the interference surrounding the vessel. "Unknown spacecraft appeared 18 minutes ago," said Lieutenant Chen, her fingers moving rapidly across her console. Size estimates put it at 4 kilometers long. Energy readings are off the charts. Ilara studied the readings herself. "Have we contacted Central Command?" "Yes, Captain. They've ordered us to investigate immediately." Ilara nodded. As the senior human representative in the sector, first contact protocols fell to her. "Prepare the envoy for launch. I want a small team, science, communications, and security." Within 30 minutes, the diplomatic vessel envoy detached from the outpost. Dr. Sato, the science officer, sat beside Ilara in the cockpit. Security officer Rodriguez checked weapons systems, defensive only, as required by diplomatic protocols. Communications specialist Novak monitored channels, listening for any transmissions from the mysterious ship. "Approaching 12,000 kilometers, Sato reported, his dark eyes fixed on scanner readings. "The energy field surrounding the vessel is unlike anything I've seen before. It's disrupting our sensors. Can we get visual confirmation of any markings?" Ilara asked. Sato adjusted the forward cameras, zooming in on the hull. "There's something there." The view screen showed blurry symbols along the ship's side. Sato enhanced the image, revealing characters that made Ilara's heart skip. "Those are human symbols," she said. "Military designation patterns, but definitely human." "But Captain," Sato said softly, "the design is nothing like our ships and the technology readings. This is centuries beyond our capabilities." Ilara studied the warship more carefully. Its lines were sleek but aggressive, clearly built for battle. The size alone made it a capital ship, something that could stand against an entire fleet. "Continue approach," she ordered. "Let's try to establish communication." Novak sent standard greeting messages on all frequencies, coalition protocols, then universal mathematical sequences, then simple binary code. Nothing came back. As they drew closer, more details became visible. The ship bore scars of battle, sections of hull patched or damaged. And there was something else, something that made Sato gasp. "Captain, I'm detecting temporal distortions surrounding the hull. The space-time fabric around the ship is folded somehow." "Meaning?" "It might have traveled through time," Sato said, his voice barely above a whisper. Rodriguez looked up from his console. "A time machine? That's impossible. So was faster than light travel before we achieved it," Ilara reminded him. "Let's keep an open mind." The envoy continued its careful approach, now just 5,000 kilometers from the mysterious vessel. Ilara ordered another attempt at communication. Suddenly, lights appeared along the warship's hull. What they had thought were weapon ports began to glow with blue energy. "Captain, the ship is powering up," Rodriguez shouted. Energy signatures matching weapon systems. "Defensive posture only," Ilara ordered. "No threatening moves." The mysterious ship's response came instantly. A targeting beam locked onto the envoy. bathing it in pale light. Then a voice came through their communication system. Artificial, emotionless. Proximity alert. Defense protocols activated. Identify or withdraw. Novik scrambled to respond. This is the Coalition vessel Envoy on a diplomatic mission. We seek peaceful contact. The targeting beam intensified. Multiple weapon ports now tracked their small vessel. Unknown Coalition classification. Temporal variance detected. Withdraw to safe distance. Ilara didn't hesitate. Full reverse now. The Envoy pulled away as energy built up in the mysterious ship's weapons. The targeting beam remained fixed on them until they passed 10,000 kilometers. It recognized Coalition, but called it unknown, Novik noted as they retreated. And it mentioned temporal variance, Sato added, supporting the time travel theory. They returned to Outpost Theta at maximum speed. When they docked, they found the station at highest alert level. Commander Ellis met them at the airlock. Captain Vega, the situation has escalated, he said grimly. All three powers have mobilized fleets toward the Helios sector. In the command center, they watched long-range scanners showing the movement of ships. The Vesperi Hive had dispatched 3 battle clusters. The Luminary had activated their energy vessels, and the Coalition was sending reinforcements as well. They all want the ship, Ilara realized aloud. Its technology could shift the balance of power. Commander Ellis confirmed, Central Command wants your full report immediately. Ilara compiled everything they had learned, the human symbols, the advanced technology, the temporal readings. As she prepared to transmit, Lieutenant Chen approached her station. Captain, we're receiving transmissions from multiple sources. The Vesperi are claiming territorial rights. The Luminary are demanding the ship withdraw from what they call their sovereign space. And the Coalition, they want us to secure the vessel before anyone else can reach it. Ilara looked at the image of the mysterious warship on the main screen. Its appearance had transformed a disputed but peaceful sector into a potential flashpoint for interstellar war. Whatever this ship is, she said quietly, everyone wants it. And that makes it the most dangerous object in the galaxy right now. As if hearing her words, the mysterious vessel began to move for the first time, its massive engines glowing with strange energy as it adjusted its position. It was no longer drifting. It was watching, waiting, and 3 battle fleets were racing toward it. Ilara sat alone in her office, studying the high-resolution scans of the mysterious warship. The station's advanced imaging systems had captured detailed views of the hull during their retreat. 3 days had passed since their encounter, and the tension in the sector had only grown worse. Fleet movements continued as all 3 powers positioned for possible conflict. She zoomed in on a section of the hull that had caught her attention. The symbols there were definitely human in origin, but of a style she hadn't seen before, advanced, yet somehow also ancient. She cross-referenced them with the linguistic database. Computer, analyze these markings against historical human scripts. The computer processed for several moments. Partial match found. Symbols contain elements of 22nd century Earth military code, but with unknown modifications. Ilara leaned forward. Military code. An idea formed in her mind. If the ship used modified military protocols, perhaps it would respond to similarly structured communications. She worked through the night, crafting a message based on the ancient code structure, but updated with modern authentication patterns. When morning came, she presented her findings to Commander Ellis. I believe I can establish basic communication with the vessel, she explained. But I need to get closer again. Commander Ellis frowned. The situation has deteriorated. The Vesperi fleet will arrive in 16 hours. The Luminary not long after. All the more reason to try now, while we still can. The commander reluctantly approved her mission. This time, the envoy approached on a different vector, broadcasting Ilara's carefully crafted message. As they neared the 10,000-kilometer mark where they'd been warned off before, everyone tensed. The targeting beams didn't activate. Instead, a new signal emerged from the ship. Receiving response. Novak announced. It's accepting our communication protocol. A mechanical voice filled the breach. Coalition authentication patterns recognized. Temporal variance confirmed. Identify purpose. Ilara took a deep breath. This is Captain Ilara Vega of the Coalition Diplomatic Corps. We seek peaceful contact and offer assistance. A pause followed. Then, this vessel is the TSS Harbinger. Temporal displacement detected. Current date does not match departure coordinates. Sato looked up from his console. TSS. That's not a current designation. What does it stand for? Ilara asked the voice. Terran Sovereign Ship. Military class. The crew exchanged glances. Earth was called Terra in some contexts, but Terran Sovereign wasn't a term currently in use. What is your current date? Ilara asked. Ship chronometers indicate year 2547. Sato gasped. That's over 300 years in the future. Ilara maintained her composure. We show the current year is 2241. Can you confirm your temporal displacement? Confirmed. Emergency temporal jump executed. Current location and date vary from intended coordinates. Ilara saw her opportunity. Your ship appears damaged. We offer assistance and safe harbor. Another long pause followed. Then the voice said, limited access granted. Approach docking bay 7. Maximum 4 personnel. The envoy cautiously approached the massive ship. A bay door larger than their entire vessel slowly opened, revealing a cavernous interior. They docked inside, the magnetic clamps securing their small craft to the floor. Ilara selected her team carefully. Sato for scientific analysis, Rodriguez for security, and Dr. Patel, their medical officer. They wore environmental suits as a precaution. The ship's interior was dimly lit, emergency lighting casting long shadows. The air was breathable but cold. As they moved deeper into the vessel, they encountered the ship's physical interface, a holographic projection of a human figure. I am the Harbinger's artificial intelligence system, it stated. You may call me Atlas. Most crew members remain in emergency cryostasis, ship systems operating at 43% capacity. What happened to your ship? Ilara asked. Battle damage sustained during engagement with Void Sovereign forces. Temporal jump executed as last resort. Atlas led them through corridors of technology beyond their understanding. They passed sealed chambers containing sleeping crew members, hundreds of them, frozen in time. Our commander is partially awake, Atlas explained. Medical protocols initiated revival when your vessel was detected. The medical bay was more advanced than anything Dr. Patel had ever seen. On a treatment bed lay a woman in her 40s, her body connected to various monitoring systems. Despite her weakened state, her presence commanded authority. Admiral Reyes, Atlas announced. Ship commander. The Admiral's eyes fluttered open. They were sharp despite her physical weakness. She studied the 4 visitors carefully. 2241, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. So far back. Ilara stepped forward. Admiral, I'm Captain Vega. We're here to help. Reyes gestured weakly for her to come closer. When she did, the Admiral grasped her arm with surprising strength. We fled, she whispered, her eyes intense. The Void Sovereigns were consuming everything. We had no choice but to attempt the temporal jump. Void Sovereigns? Ilara asked. They come from beyond the galaxy. Destroy everything. Her grip tightened. They'll come here too, eventually. Dr. Patel moved forward. Admiral, you need rest. Your body is still adjusting to the revival process. But Reyes wouldn't let go of Ilara. Listen to me. The Harbinger is the last hope. We carried the plans, the technology to warn the past, to prepare. Her eyes closed as exhaustion overtook her. Dr. Patel checked her vitals. She's stable, just sleeping now. The temporal displacement seems to have affected her cellular structure. It's remarkable she's alive at all. While Dr. Patel monitored the Admiral, Sedo received permission from Atlas to examine some of the ship's systems. What he discovered left him speechless. "Captain, this ship has technology we've only theorized about. The shielding alone could withstand direct hits from our most powerful weapons without registering damage. And the weapon systems, they could destroy entire fleets." Rodriguez examined the ship's navigation systems. "The FTL drive uses principles we haven't even discovered yet. At full capacity, this ship could cross the galaxy in weeks instead of months." As they returned to Outpost Theta, Ilara knew this information would change everything. Sure enough, within hours of their report to Coalition Command, encrypted orders arrived. The Harbinger was to be secured at all costs. But the Coalition wasn't the only power to reach this conclusion. The Vesperi fleet accelerated its approach. The Luminary sent additional vessels. News of the ship's capabilities, exaggerated with each telling, spread throughout the sector. "Every species wants control of the Harbinger now," Commander Ellis said during an emergency meeting, "and they'll go to war to get it." Ilara looked at the image of the massive warship on the view screen. "Then we need to make contact with Admiral Reyes again, because if what she says is true, this isn't just about a powerful ship. It's about a threat none of us are prepared for." Outside the station, the first Vesperi warships entered the system, their weapons primed. The Harbinger remained silent, its presence alone changing the fate of the galaxy with each passing hour. The coming storm. Admiral Reyes sat upright in her medical bed aboard the Harbinger. Her strength returned slowly but steadily over the past week. The medical systems of the future warship worked miracles on her body, repairing cellular damage from the temporal jump. Captain Ilara Vega sat across from her, recording their conversation as the Admiral revealed the truth about humanity's future. "The Void Sovereigns don't simply conquer, they consume," Admiral Reyes explained, her voice now stronger than before. "They strip worlds of resources, assimilate technology, and leave nothing behind." Ilara tried to imagine such an enemy. Are they organic beings? Partly. They began as biological entities, but merged with machines over thousands of years. They exist now as a collective consciousness spread across millions of drone bodies. Each world they take makes them stronger. She activated a small projector beside her bed. Images appeared in the air between them, planets being systematically dismantled by swarms of dark ships, their surfaces peeled away layer by layer. "This was New Terra, once our most prosperous colony," she said. 5 billion people lived there. The Sovereigns took it in 8 days. Ilara watched in horror as the recording showed the beautiful blue-green world transformed into a barren husk. How do they spread? They send advanced scouts first, small probes that hide and observe. Then come their harvesters to gather resources and establish forward bases. By the time anyone sees their main fleet, it's too late. Ilara sent all the information to Coalition Command. The response came quickly. They wanted to keep the Admiral's warnings classified while they verified her claims. But Ilara argued successfully that all 3 major powers needed this information. "If the threat is real, we need everyone prepared," she insisted. Meanwhile, Coalition intelligence began investigating strange anomalies reported at the galaxy's outer rim. Unexplained power signatures, missing scout ships, and dead communication relays, all matching Admiral Rice's descriptions of early Sovereign infiltration tactics. The Coalition called an emergency summit at Outpost Theta. Representatives from all 3 powers arrived. Humans from the Coalition, the insectoid Vesperi with their compound eyes and chitinous exoskeletons, and the energy-based Luminary whose forms shimmered with internal light. The meeting room crackled with tension. Hydrone Exik of the Vesperi hive spoke first, his mandibles clicking with agitation. "We demand full access to the Harbinger and its technology. The balance of power has been disrupted by its arrival." The Luminary representative, Radiance Elo, pulsed with a harsh light. The vessel appeared in space claimed by the Luminary Concord. "By right, it belongs to us." Coalition Admiral Wang remained calm. "The ship is of human design, It represents our future technology. We have primary claim. Ilara watched the arguments spiral into threats. She requested permission to speak and approached the central table. While we argue, a threat greater than any of us have known approaches, she said. Admiral Rice's warnings have been partially confirmed by unusual activity at the galaxy's edge. She displayed the intelligence reports on the main screen. The representatives fell silent as they studied the evidence. These patterns match known sovereign tactics, Ilara continued. The Harbinger wasn't sent back just to warn us. It carries the technology we need to fight them. Hydrone Shezik's antennae twitched. Convenient that this human ship brings tales of doom that only humans can solve. We must unite against the common threat, Ilara argued. History shows divided societies fall easily. That's exactly what happened in Admiral Rice's timeline. Radiance Elo's form fluctuated. The luminary have never aligned with biological species before. Why start now based on an unproven threat? The debate continued for days. Outside the station, the three fleets grew larger as more ships arrived. The Harbinger remained silent in its position, guarded by a small coalition force. Admiral Rice, now able to walk with assistance, attended the final day of negotiations. Her presence silenced the room. I watched the Void Sovereigns destroy everything I ever loved, she said simply. I watched them consume Earth itself. We developed the technology on the Harbinger too late to save our timeline. But you have a chance. Hydrone Exik remained skeptical. Words are easy. Proof is harder. What would convince you? Admiral Rice asked. Access to the ship's sensor logs, Exik replied, to verify your claims of these sovereigns. Admiral Huang objected. Impossible. The data could be manipulated. I accept, Admiral Rice interrupted. A demonstration only. No transfer of technology. The agreement was made. Representatives from all three powers would observe a controlled viewing of the Harbinger's battle records and sensor data from encounters with the Void Sovereigns. But the Vesperi Hive had other plans. The night before the scheduled demonstration, long-range sensors detected unusual movement in the Vesperi fleet. Ilara was awakened by an emergency alert. The Vesperi are powering weapons, Lieutenant Chen reported as she rushed into the command center. They've formed an attack pattern. Admiral Huang ordered immediate diplomatic contact. Hydrone Exik, explain your fleet movements. The Vesperi leader's face appeared on screen, his compound eyes reflecting cold determination. The Hive has decided to claim what technology we can, while we can. Without further warning, 40 Vesperi warships broke formation and accelerated toward the Harbinger. Their weapons fired, energy torpedoes streaking across space. They're really attacking, Ilara whispered in disbelief. On the view screen, the Harbinger remained motionless as the attack approached. Then, seconds before impact, a shimmering field enveloped the ship. The torpedoes struck the barrier and simply vanished. No explosion, no impact. They were simply gone. The Harbinger's response came next. A single pulse of energy emanated from the ship, expanding outward in a perfect sphere. When it reached the Vesperi fleet, their ships froze in space, weapons disabled, engines offline. Incredible, Admiral Huang breathed. A system-wide EMP that only affects their ships. The Harbinger's AI, Atlas, established communication with the outpost. Defensive measures implemented. Vesperi vessels neutralized without structural damage. Crew life support systems remain operational. A new crisis emerged immediately. The Luminary, seeing the Vesperi attack fail, launched their own offensive. Their energy vessels converted into pure light, attempting to penetrate the Harbinger's shields through quantum tunneling. Again, the future ship responded with technology centuries ahead of its time. A gravitational distortion redirected the Luminary attack away from the ship, forcing their energy forms back into physical vessels. In the chaos, Ilara made a desperate decision. She requested emergency transport to the Harbinger. If they couldn't stop the attacks diplomatically, perhaps Admiral Rice had another solution. When she arrived on the bridge of the Harbinger, she found Admiral Rice standing before a holographic display of the sector. Despite her weakened condition, she commanded the space with authority. "We expected this," Rice said without turning. "First contact situations are never smooth. Now watch." On the display, tiny objects appeared at the edge of the system. Small, dark vessels unlike any Ilara had seen before. "What are those?" she asked, though she already suspected the answer. "Scout probes," Rice confirmed. "The first wave of the Void Sovereigns. They arrived in our timeline 2 years before anyone noticed them. By then, they had infiltrated every major system." Ilara stared at the display in horror. "They're here already. But you said." "I said they would come eventually. I didn't say when." Rice finally turned to face her. "Our temporal jump wasn't just to warn you. It was to arrive at precisely this moment, when the first scouts appear, but before the main invasion begins. We need to tell the others," Ilara insisted. "They won't believe us," Rice replied. "Not while they're fighting over the Harbinger." "Then show them." Rice considered this, then nodded. "Atlas, deploy the temporal scope. Target the outer system edge, Sector R12. The AI complied. A new image appeared on the main view screen of the outpost, visible to all 3 faction leaders. It showed the dark objects clearly, and more importantly, it showed their purpose. The probes were already beginning to disassemble a small, uninhabited moon, converting its material into more of themselves. The attack on the Harbinger ceased immediately. The 3 leaders watched in stunned silence as the future they had been warned about unfolded before their eyes. "This is just the beginning." Admiral Rice's voice came through on all channels. "In my timeline, they consumed the entire galaxy within 50 years. No single species could stand against them. We fought separately, and we died separately." Hydrone Exik was the first to respond. "The Vesperi do not surrender easily, but we recognize existential threats when we see them." Radiance Elo's light pulsed in a pattern that indicated deep concern. "The luminary cannot be consumed. We exist as energy as much as matter. But these beings, they consume energy too." Admiral Huang spoke last. "The Coalition has always advocated for cooperation. Perhaps now necessity will accomplish what diplomacy could not." 3 days later, an unprecedented meeting took place aboard the Harbinger. The leaders of the 3 most powerful factions in the sector stood together on the bridge, watching as Admiral Rice unveiled the ship's greatest secret. "A Harbinger isn't just a warship," she explained, activating a hidden console. A compartment opened in the center of the bridge, revealing a crystalline device. "It's a carrier for this, the Unity Core." "What does it do?" asked Radiance Elo, floating closer to examine the device. "It's a technological symbiosis engine," Rice explained. "In our time, we developed it too late. It allows different species technologies to work together. Human adaptability, Vesperi hive computing, luminary energy manipulation, all unified into systems greater than any single species could create. And this will defeat the Void Sovereigns." Hydrone Exik clicked skeptically. "No," Admiral Rice said firmly, "but it will give you a fighting chance. The knowledge to build more of these cores, to adapt your existing technologies to work together. That's what we brought back." Captain Ilara Vega watched as understanding dawned on the 3 leaders. This wasn't about a single powerful ship. It was about changing the future by changing how species interacted with each other. "In my timeline, we learned to work together only after we had lost everything," Rice continued. "You have the opportunity to begin now, before the worst comes." The decision wasn't immediate. There were arguments, conditions, demands for guarantees. But as sensor reports showed more scout probes entering the system, pragmatism won out. 1 month later, the first joint fleet launched. Coalition ships equipped with Vesperi computing systems and protected by luminary energy fields. They destroyed the scout probes with minimal losses. It was a small victory, but symbolic of what could be achieved together. Aboard Outpost Theta, Now renamed Unity Station, Captain Ilara Vega stood with Admiral Reyes, watching the new fleet formation on the main display. "Will it be enough?" she asked quietly. Admiral Reyes watched the ships moving in perfect coordination, a sight she had never seen in her own timeline. "I don't know," she admitted, "but you've already changed the future. In my history, the Helios sector was destroyed by civil war long before the sovereigns arrived. Now it's the center of the first unified defense. And the Harbinger?" Reyes smiled. "The ship fulfilled its purpose. Now it belongs to all of you. The technology will be shared, as it should have been from the beginning." Outside the station, the mysterious warship that had appeared without warning now served as the command center for a united defense force. Its presence had brought the galaxy to the brink of war, and then beyond, to something new. As the scout ships were eliminated one by one, a message went out to all worlds in all languages. "The storm is coming, but this time, we face it together." The mysterious warship that had changed the fate of the galaxy had delivered its most important cargo: hope.